I see some upside, massive upside for CTMX on the horizon, but a pullback may be the first thing that we see first. Let's go over the details. What is up, you guys? Thank you so much for stopping by once again. This is ARCa coming at you with a CTMX raw price action and technicals thread of analysis on this fine Sunday. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video with a friend so that you and them could consider joining the ARCap trading community in Discord. With that said, let's go ahead and dive right into the charts. Okay, so we are looking at CTMX on the 8-hour chart here, and as you can see, we have been riding since 2018 March this massive descending channel, and usually descending channels are a reversal. They're a reversal formation, right? So upon the breakout of the fourth true breakout attempt, we can then expect to come back and test our newly converted resistance into then support before a continuation to the upside, okay? Particular to the trading rules of the playbook for this descending channel, okay? So as you can see, we've already made test 1, 2, and 3, and now we're in the process of making this fourth and true attempt for breakout, okay? So let's go ahead and now move on to the chart, as there are a few things that I would like to touch on regarding a downside first before a continuation. All right, so I have not ran a back test on this just yet, but I do see the potentials of a continuation to the downside simply based on the stochastic momentum oscillator, which is an indicator that is proprietary to TradingView software, which, by the way, I'm actually an accepted affiliate, and it does help me out when you guys consider to opening a TradingView account, okay, at least for my trading future. Okay, so the links will be in the description below. All right, so particular to this indicator, I have tested it through a lot of several tickers throughout time, and I have gotten about a 75 to 90% accuracy in guessing the asset's direction, right? So now what we need to pay attention to is that we're maxed out at critical volatility, printing 12-hour iteration bars, okay, which indicate that we're maxed out. Pretty much 100% volatility right now. And now that the momentum oscillator is pitched to the downside, and this being at critical, that usually indicates a continuation to the downside. And now, particularly where is going to be very discretionary for me to give you that downside target. But I do see some very likely targets to touch before a continuation to the upside. Okay, so this could be think of it as an accumulation period. Before an actual launch, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and now move on to the next chart. Actually, you know what? Let me just go ahead and touch on that target. Okay, so if I'm looking at a continuation to the downside, I mean, look at this sell bar here. This volume here is huge for this candle, and the buy pressure for this was just FOMO. Okay, so now this candle here has massive take profit already. We do have a little bit of a green candle here. We are facing resistance between the NOT 682 at about $2.59 and the okay, so it's a range of between the NOT 786 and the NOT 618 between 248 and 259. So very likely we can actually touch either of these two zones before a continuation onto the downside, particularly to this gap that we have, okay? And the gap is actually comprised from the candle low of January 5th to the candle high of January 5th as well, okay? So this gap is very much in play. And another thing to notice here is that we have the 1.618 at $1.95, okay? So usually as we start approaching towards the golden mean, towards a psychological component like this, the sentiment would usually want to take the trade down to that area. Okay, so we can expect reaccumulation between 203 and 195 easily. Usually, when we're facing gaps like these, we usually come back to test just the top of the gap before attempting to close it in the future, right? So in this case, we can actually see that the 1.618 is in fact right in the middle of that gap, and with the 1.618 being there, the likelihood of touching to the 188 zone is also likely. Okay, so because we have it right in the middle, so that would be a total accumulation zone between 188 and 203, with the likelihood landing closer to maybe the 195 to 203 targets. okay, before a continuation. Let's go ahead and move on to the next chart now. Okay, so this is the RSI that we're going to look at now. Divergence is the opposition of price action versus momentum. In this case, momentum represented by RSI, the relative strength index. And as you can see, we are accumulating several drives of hidden bearish divergence, and that usually happens when momentum is making a series of higher highs and price action is making a series of higher lows. Okay, so this is actually right over here for your convenience. I blew it up on a diagram for you to use as reference, right? Okay, so please notice that the 12-hour RSI signal line, which is the purple line, is pivoted aggressively towards the downside, and we do have an upside continuation on the moving average itself, which means we can continue to the downside, eventually find the moving average as a form of support before a continuation to the upside. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up the bearish and bullish control zones of the RSI that I would like for you to take a gander at while I am talking, right? So these are the 4 zones right over here for your convenience. Let's go ahead and open up that multi-pane and get a deeper bias for at least the next trading session. So we're going to start off like we always do on the 30-minute immediate short-term time frame. And as you can see on the immediate short-term, we do have a slight upside, and we still have as resistance, first of all, the gravitational pull zone, which is within the bull weakness percentile, which would be right around this area here. As long as we do maintain within that shallow area, we can actually expect a gravitational pull right back. And since we do have that 14-day moving average as a resistance, those are 2 forms of resistance that we can actually use for a continuation to the downside, which is very much in accordance with what we're speaking of within this chart here, of potentially going up very momentarily to between the 0.786 at 248 to the 0.618 at 259 before a continuation to the downside. Okay, now the bi-hourly is suggesting a continuation to the downside as well. Please do notice that the RSI signals placement or position, the current position of it, is right at the weakness area, at the shallow area of the bull strength percentile, which usually means a continuation to the downside. Okay, now the 6-hour time frame is also pivoted towards the downside as well. Now it looks like it can actually be momentarily, so temporary retracement. Continuation to the downside, find a support from the moving average, then continue to the upside. Okay, so everything that I'm saying so far is being backed by the RSI. Now this is where things start to get interesting here, which could mean that we are likely to face maybe a pullback only for tomorrow or the next day, followed by the upside continuation. Okay, so this is the daily time frame suggesting an aggressive upside, but please always notice that our position historically. Okay, so if we make a trend line here on the daily time frame, you can actually see that we are already, pretty much maxed out, and several iterations have already retraced from exactly the point where we are. We do have a little bit more room to go based on the iteration from March 8th, 2018, that is, and it does go up to about 86%. We're at 84.47%, which is why I'm saying the pullback may be able to last for about a day or two max before a continuation onto the to the upside. Okay, so let's look at the bi-daily. Okay, so the bi-daily now is actually sitting significantly lower, of course. So it's a 78%. We have an all-time high of about 83% on the bi-daily. So this is still looking good. This is suggesting a continuation to the upside. 3-day is also suggesting a continuation to the upside. We have headroom all the way up to about 90%. RSI. So this is still suggesting that upside. 5-day is also suggesting a massive amount of upside aggressively too. So this is 64.94% where we're currently sitting, and it does have a max of about 84.47%. Okay, so things are looking very good for CTMX, and I would highly consider waiting for a pullback, okay, before some type of accumulation. Know that I'm not a financial advisor. Take whatever I do show and iterate within these videos as just a form of entertainment, okay, as I can't actually suggest for you to buy or sell any of the assets that I'm talking about, right? So I need you to do your own DD and everything will be just fine, okay, you guys. So yes, that all the RSI is telling me is that we're likely to face this pullback right down into that area that we spoke of about maybe let's see, it's actually within this chart, right? The higher likelihood range of 195 to about 203 before finding that bounce here and then continuing on to the upside to make our breakout on test number 4. Now, since the daily RSI is already heavily overbought, this is where the daily RSI would come in and give us a pullback in hopes of actually making this a confirmation of or a validation of resistance into then support before a continuation onto the upside, taking into account the 3-day, 5-day, and weekly RSI suggestions to the upside. Okay, we just take the puzzle pieces, we put them together, and the rest is history. Okay, you guys, if you are interested in talking to me, but please don't hesitate to do so. The links will be in the description below for the ARCap trading community on Discord and the Twitter. Okay, definitely come by, say hello. I know that it's taking me a little bit to respond to everybody, but that's just because the messages and comments and all these things are actually starting to accumulate. Another thing to keep in mind is please do not fall for the WhatsApp ARCa imposters down in the comments, okay? There are more and more and more ARCa imposters being made, and these guys are just trying to take your money, okay? Do not fall for those scam artists, okay? All right, guys, but I think that's pretty much it for the video. Well, yeah, I wish you well. I wish you a very good night, and I will catch you at the bell mañana. Adios.